Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 107 of 2025. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at the Odds Breakers. Follow us on social media / the Odds Breakers. This episode is being brought to you by FanDuel Sports, a proud partner with the NFL. If you like to support the Odds Breakers and benefit from our premium plays, please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, become a member, pick any. For when cappers get the premium plays before the line moves, you can also support us on patreon.com. But if nothing else, please visit the Odds Breakers, become a free picks and Telegram subscriber. College bowl season is among us, my friends. Already a hot start here with Jacksonville State making the easy cover. We have a hell of a lot of line value on Old Dominion. I probably got to buy back some today. Obviously, by the time you get this show, you'll know what happened in that game. But just a lot of fun to discuss. And no better person to talk to than Tony George from Doc Sports, a huge college football fan, extremely experienced bettor, good friend. Excited to talk to Tony a little bit about the bowls and the playoffs and kind of see what he's thinking and, break it down at least through December 24th and see if he's got anything after that. But, this segment is for now until December 24th. And then next week we'll have our Christmas show with let's just call him a very powerful guest to talk about the rest of the bowls and the big Rose Bowl, Orange Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Sugar Bowl. Brad Powers coming on. This is second round of the college football playoffs that we'll be discussing with Brad next week. And obviously our Christmas show, I'm going to wrap NFL in there as well. And then there'll only be two shows next week. Take the weekend off. I'm always betting college basketball was hot last night on North Carolina laying 15 and Tennessee laying 1.5 easy wins. College basketball's in the black for myself, and you can always jump aboard if you want to win with us. Our college basketball package is out, making a great start here for 2025-2026 season. Well, ATS is kind of a thing not so needed to talk about. This is bowl season right now, and so before Tony comes on, I'm going to break down the article that I pulled out and just kind of give you a side play or a lean on every single bowl game from now until Christmas Eve. All right, let's get started with that. College bowl games December 18th through December 24th, starting with the college football playoffs. And just give you my thoughts on each one. Friday, December 19th. No, there's no name for it. It's just Alabama versus Oklahoma, plus 1.5, total 40.5. It's a home game for Oklahoma, I guess. Oklahoma Memorial Stadium, Norman, Oklahoma, 8 p.m. on ABC or an ESPN. Everybody's motivated. Home field advantage for Oklahoma. Alabama's injuries, defensive end, left tackle Overton. Jam Miller is injured. He could play, but we're not 100% sure on that yet. I should mention this came from Stuckey. Stuckey's amazing article. You can check out Stuckey's Twitter profile and find this article on all the opt-outs and injuries coming in. Tight end Josh Cuevas is banged up, in defensive tackle Kelby Collins. There's a rumor going around that Simpson is banged up too, the quarterback, but I think he's going to play. Just not sure how healthy he is. Oklahoma injuries, cornerback Gentry Williams last played in Week 8. Center Jake Mikula missed the finale, could come back, and left guard Heath Ozeda, who last played on Week 9. Net yards per play, believe it or not, is Oklahoma plus .22. So, the key stats in this game is Oklahoma's offense is poor, only ranking 94th in EPA to Alabama's ranking 19th. Alabama's pass offense is really their best method of success, ranking 29th in pass EPA. The issue is that Oklahoma has the best defense in the SEC, ranking 4th in defensive EPA. Both teams played a top 10 schedule. I think Mateer's more healthy coming in. He had 3 weeks off, didn't have to get embarrassed to Georgia in the SEC Bowl. I think Oklahoma's offensive woes are based on his injury and Mateer's injury. And I think now it changes a little bit. They've had 3 weeks to figure it out. They played Alabama once. Alabama has been leaking oil over the past 4 weeks, and Oklahoma's kind of been heating up a little bit. I think the home field advantage should definitely play its part in this situation. I think Oklahoma has success running the football, as Alabama only ranks 54th in rush EPA. So, that could be an avenue for Oklahoma. They haven't been the best running team this year, but, it's a way to control the game, especially make it a defensive challenge. Don't turn the ball over, and you should be fine. Oklahoma has the better yards per play, just like I mentioned. I think the Sooners are live here. You know what's funny about this game, though? I have heard so many opinions from very sharp people on both sides. You almost think like if who's not trustable or what's going on with these handicaps if respected people are on one side and respected people are on the other. I mean, that's what we're really seeing. Why aren't we just laying off the game? It's funny how we're both all convinced. It's just your style of handicapping a little bit too. If you're looking at, Alabama being hot and Alabama being Alabama and Oklahoma's offense, you're liking Alabama side. And if you like Oklahoma's defense, you like their side. I think defense wins championships myself. So I like Oklahoma plus the 1.5 for 2 stars. Saturday, December 20th. Miami versus Texas A&M. Texas A&M minus 3.5, total 51.5 at Kyle Field in College Station at noon on ABC, ESPN. Everybody's motivated. Home field goes to Texas A&M. Miami's injuries. Cornerback Keontae Scott last played week 11. Nose tackle David Blay last played week 11. Cornerback O.J. Frederick played week 7. Texas A&M's got running back Le'Veon Moss last played week 7. Safety Bryce Anderson last played week 7, and linebacker Scooby Williams. What a great name, Scooby. Last played week 9. Net yards per play, believe it or not, Miami gets the edge at plus 0.29. Key stats, really, looking at the numbers, Miami seems to have all their advanced stats going their way in this game. They rank 12th in success rate to A&M ranking 30th. The Canes rank 9th in defensive EPA. Aggies rank 55th in defensive EPA. Believe it or not, the Canes might have the best unit on the field on their defense. Texas A&M is a terrible 134th in defensive explosiveness, so they allow big plays. The only X factor here for the Aggies is if Miami can stop quarterback Marcel Reed. The verdict here is I think Miami is live here. They have had 3 weeks to prepare for a dual threat quarterback, and Texas A&M. You want to say Miami had an easy schedule. A&M got to avoid Alabama and Georgia, and they got their butts kicked at Texas. So not exactly a great way to keep coming into this game. I think the only reason you're seeing a line of 3 or 4 points is due to an SEC bias because the numbers really point towards Miami. And I think that now that Miami made the college football playoffs, they're playing with some house money and have to prove that they belong. There's too many points here. Past the 3, I don't like it. I love Miami here. Plus the 3.5 for 2 stars.
Kip, I reckon you know a lot about cyberspace. You ever come across anything like time travel?
Number 11, Tulane versus number 6, Ole Miss. Ole Miss minus 17.5, total 56.5 at Vaught Hemingway Stadium in Oxford, Mississippi. Home game for Ole Miss. Tulane injuries, just wide receiver Bryce Bohannon, and Ole Miss injuries, cornerback Antonio Kite. Last played week 12. Ole Miss coaching challenges. Lane Kiffin left the LCU job. Now, defense coordinator Pete Golding's taken over the new head coach, and Charlie Weiss will also stay with the team for now, although he's got a new coaching job coming up too. So net yards per play, Ole Miss plus 0.79. I mean, nothing. We saw this game already. Tulane played an inferior conference, and they already got smoked by Ole Miss. Ole Miss had plenty of success running the football, passing the ball. With Trinidad Chambliss, Ole Miss ranks 14th in offensive EPA. Tulane ranks 57th on defense. I mean, Ole Miss's offense is the best unit on the field. Tulane needs to run the ball, but the Green Wave only ranks 75th in rush EPA in a bad schedule to the Rebels, ranking 112th in opponent rush EPA. The verdict here. How nice of the committee, first of all, to set this up. Should have been Texas A&M probably with the easier game, but here we are. No punishment for the whole Lane Kiffin situation because their name is not Florida State. But either way, this game could get ugly. I can't make a play on this game because the variance is just massive. I don't know what's going to happen without the Lane Kiffin. I don't know if there's any more pressure. Trinidad Chambliss is young. Tulane has seen them before. Maybe they can kind of figure a few things out. Their coach is at least hanging around for this game. I have a strong lean to Ole Miss, but I just can't get there with all the variants. I just feel this is too variant, but it wouldn't shock me if Ole Miss blows them out. But 17.5 is getting a little too dicey for me. I believe that my number is more like 15, 16 points here, and I think you're playing a little bit of a premium just based upon the fact that these two teams played before. 15.5 is my power number in this situation here. Lean Ole Miss. James Madison versus number 5 Oregon. Oregon is minus 21.5. Total 50.5. This is kind of back and forth. It's kind of creeping back down a little bit. 20.5 back at BetMGM and Autzen Stadium in Eugene, Oregon. Obviously a home game for Oregon. Injuries, James Madison's defensive tackle Emmanuel Bush missed the conference title game. And Oregon's injuries. Wide receiver DeCorian Moore last played week 9, but practiced this week. And wide receiver Gary Bryant Jr. last played in week 11, but practiced this week. Net yards per play, Oregon plus 0.59. Key stats, this is just another huge discrepancy in strength of schedule. Oregon 17, James Madison 105th. The Ducks have had blazing offense, ranking second in EPA. Duke's ranking 34th. Oregon's got the biggest net yards per play discrepancy compared to any college football team this year. It's not like they didn't play some hard teams. They did have to play Penn State when the quarterback was healthy. They played Indiana. I think this could be a serious ass kicking like many others think, but I also think that they could allow a backdoor being up 28-0, 27 to whatever. I meant 28 points more than anything, but I think the first half is safer for me. I like the first half here. It's 11.5 right now. This is a situation where Oregon last year was embarrassed to Ohio State. They were the number 1 overall seed, and they had to play freaking Ohio State. I imagine that, being the 1 overall seed and having to play Ohio State. They have an easier path being the 5 seed. That's how poor this committee was. But either way, Oregon first half minus 11.5 here for me for 2 stars.
Get busy living or get busy dying. That's goddamn right.
Bowl time, college bowls, December 8th through December 24th. Thursday, December 18th, the Xbox Bowl, Missouri State versus Arkansas State. Arkansas State minus 1.5, total 54.5 at the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco, Texas. Missouri State's motivation's high. They made a bowl game in their first year of FBS play, and Arkansas State's motivation's medium-low. Probably just happy to be there. They've done it before. I could see Missouri State fans showing up here, so I'm going to give them 1 point to come all the way to Frisco, Texas. Missouri State's got someone in the transfer portal. They're starting center Cash Hudson. Don't love that. They have a few injuries. Defensive tackle Ryan Williams last played week 12, and defensive end Mitchell Toney last played in week 12. We'll see if they can make it on the field. Arkansas State injuries, left guard Tristan Smith. Net yards per play, Missouri State is a plus 1.13. Key stats, both defenses are pretty bad, ranking in the bottom 40 in yards per play and success rate. Both offenses rank in the top 29 in passing play percentage, so they love to air out the ball. Arkansas State ranks 10th in pace, while Missouri State ranks 90th. My verdict is, this is simple to me. I don't know how either team stops each other on defense. Both teams tend to struggle to stop anything. Lots of throwing the ball. That means lots of stoppages on the clock. No weather in this game, being that it's played in the Cowboys practice field. I love the over here. This is simple to me. Play over 54.5 for 2 stars. Friday, December 19th, the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Kennesaw State versus Western Michigan, minus 4. Total 49.5. It's actually minus 3.5 now in most books. So this one, I think that the motivation for Kennesaw State's still going to be high, even though they won Conference USA, because this is their first bowl game that they ever got to play in. Western Michigan's motivation is going to be medium-low. They won the MAC and probably just happy there to celebrate. There's no home field advantage. Even Conway's over 350 miles away from Atlanta, where this bowl game, where Kennesaw is close to. Yeah, I think that Kennesaw is going to have a very limited opt-outs. Cornerback Caleb Offord is opting out potentially, but we don't know. And we have one person in the transfer portal, All-Conference USA, Jericho Washington for Kennesaw State. He does plan to play in the bowl game, though. Kennesaw State's injury safety Antonio Stevens barely played the last 3 games, and linebacker Garland Benyard last played. In Week 9, Western Michigan's potential opt-outs defensive end Nadami Tucker. Net yards per play is about even at plus 0.1. Both teams are pretty equal from my perspective. I have them power rated very equal. The Owls have the better offense while the Broncos have the better defense. Some think the MAC's better than Conference USA. I tend to think not. I think they're pretty close to equal. I think that just grabbing anything past the 3 points it has some value here. If I have them equal in my power rings, this is a no-dub play until we find out more information. Kennesaw State plus 3.5 for 2 stars.
You son of a bitch.
Next game, the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl, Memphis versus NC State. NC State minus 5.5. It's kind of like 5.5 and 4.5 in some books. I mean, I think some people think that there's going to be some opt-outs for NC State. I have to call it 4.5. Total 57.5. Memphis's motivation's low. They lost their coach to Arkansas, had higher hopes in the playoffs. NC State's motivation's medium. They got better as the season went on. I think they're going to show up here. Memphis has got a few injuries. Their stud right tackle, Travis Burke, cornerback Jaden Dennis, another cornerback, and quarterback Brendan Lewis was a bit banged up to end the year, so remember that. Big coaching change, right? With Silverfield leaving to Arkansas, defensive back coach Reggie Howard will serve as the interim while Charlie Huff prepares to enter from Southern Miss as the head coach. NC State's got some potential opt-outs. Hollywood Smothers, their running back, tight end Justin Jolly, a couple other smaller guys. NC State's got a few injuries, left guard Cameron Smith, and cornerback Jamel Johnson last played Week 12. Net yards per play. Memphis is a plus 0.81. Key stats, though, say what you want about the ACC, but nothing is more key than this strength of schedule discrepancy. 94th for Memphis, 30th for NC State. It's hard to differentiate stats here because of the different conferences, but motivation's kind of what I'm going by. It's just a weird situation for Memphis. They wanted to make the playoffs and blew it versus Tulane. They also lost their coach to Arkansas, while the interim won't even be the guy for next season. It's weird. It's like your interim guy already knows he's not the head coach. I hate this situation for Memphis, and as long as everyone stays, this should be a statement game for the Wolfpack, keeping their coach. I like the Wolfpack here. I actually got a bad number at 5.5, but I'm going to give this out for you at minus 4.5 for 2 stars. Monday, December 22nd, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Washington State versus Utah State. Utah State minus 2.5, total 52.5. Washington State's motivation, medium low, not the greatest destination, but they'll probably want to win against a new Pac-12 conference opponent. And Utah State's motivation's medium, shitty location. They get to play the new Pac-12 opponent. Home is none. Washington State transfer portal. A few guys, cornerback Kenny Worthy, linebacker Anthony Polano, backup quarterback Jackson Potter, and wide receiver Tony Freeman. Had 3 touchdowns this year, wide receiver Tony Freeman. Polano started early in the season, but his play decreased. And I'm sorry, these were transfer portals, not injuries. The injuries are just center Brock DU that missed the finale. And wide receiver Carter Paps missed last played in Week 13. Now, the problem with Washington State is that Coach Jimmy Rogers left to take the head coach position at Iowa State. He will not stay with the team for the bowl, which means there's just more of a chance of opt-out. So I think this is one you just can't figure out right now, personally. Utah State's got a few injuries. Tight end Brock Lane, starting wide receiver Braden Pagan has entered the transfer portal. Net yards per play, Utah State is plus 0.59. I mean, Utah State's got the better offense. Washington State's definitely got the better defense, ranking 46th in opponent EPA, while Utah State ranked 93rd. Washington State has the harder, somewhat schedule, weirder schedule, I guess, not being in a conference. Washington State ranks 3rd in defensive explosiveness, which would counter Utah State ranking 19th in offensive explosiveness. So I think it's a situation where I like the Cougars more than anything, but I just can't trust them right now. I'm going to lean Washington State at the number, at the minus 2.5, or sorry, the plus 2.5. And, if I'm not finding more opt-outs, this will be one that I do decide to play later as the week progresses. Tuesday, December 23rd, Bush's Boca Raton Bowl, Toledo versus Louisville. Louisville minus 7.5, total 44.5. Toledo's motivations medium low. This team at least gets a Power 4 school, but no coach yet, and a lot of question marks. Louisville's motivation is going to be low. As a former college student, man, I think I would just party instead of care about beating Toledo if I went to Boca Raton. It's just a weak-ass bowl for Louisville, man. But, Toledo's got someone in the transfer portal in defensive end Malachi Davis. They got some other potential opt-outs, being that their coach left, a couple cornerbacks, Avery Smith, Andre Fuller, a couple safeties. There's one injury for Toledo, left guard Carter Fulte. And then Louisville's got some potential opt-outs. Miller Moss, Chris Bell, the wide receiver, Isaac Brown, the running back. It's just they have some injuries, too. Wide receiver Chris Bell. I don't think Chris Bell might even play this game. Net yards per play is Toledo plus 1.09. Key stats, there's nothing more key than the potential opt-outs here. I just don't know what's going on. There's some rumors about Jeff Braun, like that he's looking at the Giants or something. I don't know if that's true, but the strength of schedule, massive difference. Toledo ranks 130th and Louisville ranks 45th. Toledo's got the great defense in the MAC, but that's also the MAC. I just don't know what to expect out of Louisville yet. Let's see if Stuckey updated his article here real quick just before I move on. And, of course, Louisiana is so close to Louisville. It looks like you do have a couple opt-outs for Louisville. Starting right defensive tackle Renee Conga, starting defensive end Wesley Bailey's opting out. Both of them played a ton. And you still got Miller Moss and Chris Bell. Oh, my God. I don't know what to do with this game. I wonder if this line moved to. It's down to 6.5. Yeah, that's how quickly this moved. I literally wrote this yesterday, and now it's down to 6.5. Moved past the 7. That's how quickly this stuff moves. So you got to be ahead of it. But I guess I lean to Toledo, even though they might have a bunch of people leaving. It's just a mess right now in this game. No play. The New Orleans Bowl, Western Kentucky versus Southern Miss. Southern Miss plus 4. Per check if that's correct. No, it's plus 5.5 now. Total 57.5. So the over just went up. And went up 2 points. And bigger to Western Kentucky. So that means more opt-outs. So Southern Miss is only 111 miles away, so you got to give them some home field advantage. I put 2.5 points. Western Kentucky's transfer portal, cornerback Dylan Flowers, 358 snaps, and running back Le'Veon Wright, not a big one. No big injuries to Western Kentucky, so that's good for Western Kentucky. They kind of seem to be avoiding some of that, and I just think that it's cool that you don't have a ton of opt-outs yet. I don't know what's going to happen by Tuesday. It's funny to see this line go up because this line moved without new information. I'm looking at what I wrote down. This is kind of the same here in this situation. I think they're just fading the Charlie Huff thing. They took the Memphis job, and there's just more chances of opt-outs. But Blake Anderson, the offensive coordinator, is going to serve as the interim, and he gets to take over as head coach next year. Net yards per play, Southern Miss plus 0.28. Key stats, Western Kentucky's defense is the best unit on the field, ranking 19th in success rate, 43rd in EPA. Neither team had too hard of a schedule. Yeah, it very close in numbers, but I understand the movement to Western Kentucky. I still have just a lean to Southern Miss at plus 5.5, but this gets to 6.5. I'm gonna have to start thinking Southern Miss here as a play. I'm gonna wait for more information just because I like the fact that sometimes these people like their interim coach, and if Blake Anderson's liked over there, the kids are still going to try. Last year, Huff took a shit ton of people with him, though. That's the whole worry, and that's what people are banking on, too. So that's a big part of the line move. Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, UNLV versus Ohio. Ohio plus 5.5, total 65.5. This is just 62.5. Now it's 65.5 at the Ford Center in Frisco, Texas. UNLV's motivation's medium. They probably wanted more, but they will be about business. And same with Ohio. Medium, no reason not to try. No home field advantage. John Hauser, obviously, is the interim coach here, because they still have their coach on leave. UNLV's injuries, tight end Varkey's Gums, last played in Week 12. Ohio's injuries, linebacker Michael Molnar. And so, really no updates on that from Stuckey. Obviously, just the Brian Smith thing's big, him leaving or being on leave. UNLV's got a .25 net yard per play advantage. UNLV's defense is clearly the weak point of this team, ranking 126 in yards per play. But in saying that, the offense has shown enough to outscore almost every opponent not named Boise State. They only lost to Boise State twice in New Mexico. Crushed my under on the season win total. UNLV's offense is the best unit on the field, ranking 15th in EPA. The question is really if they can stop Ohio. My verdict here, Ohio was a solid team who played well in the MAC. When it came down to crunch time, they blew a game against Ball State that screwed them, and they couldn't even make the MAC championship game, and they lost to Western Michigan. They probably should have won that game. So they're a lot better than what they've shown. The whole coach on leave, though, just does not give me a ton of confidence to take a number. My power number is UNLV -4, so I do lean Ohio. I'm going to wait this out some. I don't think the Mountain West is all that good either. So I'm going to lean Ohio plus the 5.5 for now. But that would probably be close to a play if if it's the 23rd and they don't have anybody else sitting out. Wednesday, December 24th, finally, we have the Sheridan Hawaii Bowl and Cal versus Hawaii. Hawaii plus 1.5, total 54.5. Clarence T.C. Ching Athletics Complex, which is home field for Hawaii, give them the full 3 points. Hawaii's motivation's high. They'll be happy to play a Power 4 team at home, and Cal's motivation's medium high, to be honest with you, because Cal's quarterback, JKS, is from Hawaii, and his team will rally behind him, in my opinion. Cal's got some potential opt-outs in quarterback Hezike Massis and linebacker Cade Uluyav. It appears that quarterback JKS is staying in Cal, too. So that's massive. Sega Polutelli. I got to remember. Sagu Polutelli. That's how they say his last name. Cal injuries. Lots, right guard Siope Vaticani, who's another Hawaiian. Tight end Mason Minnie. Wide receiver Jordan King. Wide receiver Mark Hamper. And then, some guys that aren't as significant here. And the big coaching change with Justin Wilcox, he was fired kind of in the middle to the end of the season. Nick Rolovich took over as going to be the interim coach. Oregon DC Tosh Lupoy will take over as head coach next season. So it's kind of one of those weird situations for Cal. Maybe they still play hard for Nick Rolovich. They sure as hell did last week, didn't they? 2 weeks ago against SMU. Hawaii's transfer portal wide receiver Jackson Harris. Barely even did anything. Wait a minute. No, yes, he did. 49 catches. Sorry. That was 49 targets. Yeah, he had 963 yards. That's a massive, but is he going to play is the big question. Hawaii's got a few injuries. Linebacker Jemai Otis, cornerback Verdell Edwards, wide receiver Nick Kenical. Other notes, it's going to be like a home game. And Hawaii's got a net yards per play of plus .44. But Cal played the much harder schedule, ranking 60th in Sagarin to Hawaii's 112th. The funny thing about these two teams is that they're a mirror's image of each other. Both quarterbacks from Hawaii. Both teams pass the ball at a very high frequency, ranking 8th for Cal and 5th for Hawaii. So that stops the clock a lot. But they also suck at running the ball. And I was really looking at this over, but both teams are really solid at defending the pass. That's what they both do decent. They're also quite average at tempo, kind of in the mid 50s and 60s ranked. So very mid in defensive success rate. I think this is a really good total number, and a lot of people like the over. It's just the problem is they need to get in the end zone, not kick field goals. I really like what Cal did, and they showed some spirit here. When they played, when they knocked out SMU, JKS, he's going to have a lot of fans cheering on him too. Even though Hawaii's going to try to beat this Power 4 team, I have a strong lean to Cal at -1.5, but I'm not going to make a play as of yet. Well, there you have it, my friends. Those are our plays for this college bowl season and the playoffs, but we're also going to talk to Tony and see what Tony has to say about that. Without further ado, let's bring in our wonderful guest, Mr. Tony George from Doc Sports. Now, I'm very excited to bring back one of the most respected and experienced handicappers in this country, and Mr. Tony George from DocSports.com. You can follow Tony on X at TGeorgeSportsTony. It's almost Christmas. I see you got your red on, my man. That must be more Christmas than Chiefs, I would think, right?
It's more of just paying respects. It's been a couple week-long funeral here in Kansas City, and the final nail in the coffin was last Sunday with Mahomes going down. And, I did have the Chargers in that game. I have no loyalty when it comes to a bankroll. So, nonetheless, it's been I guess I should be wearing my Nebraska. So I know we're going to talk about our alma maters here in a minute. I should be wearing my Nebraska red. The longest win streak in Division I college basketball is not Duke, not Florida, not Bama. It's Nebraska to this point, to this 15 games in a row, dating back. They won that tournament in Vegas last year. That outside of the big dance, they won that tournament, and they just haven't lost since. And they
Tony, we'll get to college basketball next season, my friend. We'll get to. I'm not going to bring up volleyball or anything right now. Let's just. I know our good friend Sean came and visited you.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
How was that?
We had fun. We watched some games. We met down at the future side of the sports books. They are now met there, and then we were there for about 20 minutes, and I said, do you want to go to some of my dive spots where I own the television sets and all these dive bars? I walk in the door, and they change it to whatever we want. He goes, yeah. So we bounced around to some of my dive joints in the Northland and had a good time. And I introduced him to, just so you know, Wisconsin boy, right up there by Sauk City where Doc Sports was founded. He's right down the road from the guy that owns Doc's. But anyway, I said, I have the best cheese curd anywhere to be found on the planet. He is in the state of Missouri. He didn't believe me. He's a believer now.
It must be the size of your head if that's the case, my friend.
Oh, no. He downed him. He's I'll try one, but I'm used to and that whole plate was gone in 5 minutes. Well, of course, based on Sean's physique, you know how that can happen quickly.
If Sean was really hungry, anything's the best food he's ever had. So yeah. I'll be the judge of that. But speaking of Nebraska, wasn't there a really intelligent and modest Badger fan that recently told you that Dylan Raiola was going to enter the transfer portal quicker than flies on shit?
Yeah. Yeah, you did, and you know what? I'm not sad to see him go. It's getting ugly up. It's getting ugly up there. They fired it. His brother decommitted. They fired his uncle, and I guess I read an article in the Lincoln Journal today where the coaches, Rule and a couple other guys, went to his house to sit down with him and to kind of just swell the rumors and find out where he was at. They were in there like 5 minutes. He told them to F off and they left.
You know what? He's doing them a favor because Dylan Raiola is not worth the $4 or $5 million he stole from you guys, and he's definitely not worth anybody in the future because he fucking sucked. He is, that guy is nothing special. Sorsby from Cincinnati is better than Raiola. And there is a lot of guys better than Raiola. And if anybody thinks they're going to pick up that piece of garbage with all of his demands and his dad having a coach or brothers or whatever, cousins, and his agents and all that, F that guy. And like I said, man, he played for 1 year in high school down here in Chandler with a stacked roster, and he won, but it was mostly because of the stacked roster thing. Like he transferred to Georgia. The guy's transferring freaking high schools his whole life. This guy, he's no NFL quarterback to me, and I think you guys dodged a freaking bullet by letting his ass walk.
Yeah, and the thing of it was, even last year, I thought he was soft. He didn't want to run the ball. He didn't like taking hits. He wouldn't. A busted pass play on 3rd and 6 when he could have clearly ran for a first down. You're going to have to take a shot, especially with Patrick Mahomes being his quote-unquote mentor, and how, he's, Patrick is one of those guys that he'll take the shot to get the win.
Oh, he was also Graham Mertz. He also tweeted about Graham Mertz. You know what happened after that? It feels like when Mahomes tweets about somebody, they go to shit,
Yeah. But, I think he was, there was an offensive line issue, but he was a statue in the pocket. This TJ Lateef kid we got now, he's a lot better. He's a dual threat. He opens up the offense more for Holgorsen to call. Unfortunately, we lost Emmett Johnson to the NFL draft. He's not going to play in the bowl game, which is Nebraska's biggest offensive weapon. Utah's strong up front. And now that Whittingham has announced that he's going to be leaving coaching, Utah's going to wipe the floor with Nebraska in that Las Vegas Bowl. I can tell you that right now. That's going to be a 21-plus point win for Utah.
It's too bad he's leaving because he'd be a great spot for Nebraska to grab him, I think. I like Whittingham.
Yeah, we're I was looking at the recruiting. In the last year, Nebraska was 21st in recruiting. And so I know you put Nebraska, Wisconsin there, and we won't go in depth about Wisconsin's year in football or the 30-point loss they took to Nebraska last week in basketball. But Nebraska went from 21st in recruiting.
You just did, Tony.
Well, I just wanted to get it on the table. Nebraska is 95th so far in recruiting, 0 5-stars, 2 4-stars. The 4 stars we got was a cornerback and an offensive lineman that a lot of people, Notre Dame was after both of them, blah, blah, blah. We had 8 3-stars. And I look at Wisconsin. They were way ahead of Nebraska in recruiting this year. Despite their record, they came in at 58. The problem is you got 0 5-stars and 0 4-stars and 14 3-stars. This is according to Rivals.com, which is kind of the Ken Palm of college football when it comes to recruiting. So I think Nebraska's, Matt Rule was supposed to turn things around. We hadn't been to a bowl game in a decade. We've been to 2 since Rule's been there. And, we're pleased with where we're at in terms of progression, but we wasted a lot of time and effort on a shitty quarterback that was the worst 5-star rated quarterback. Georgia or Ohio State, he had committed to both and left both. The guy's about as loyal as, a crack-addicted wife looking for a $20 bill. But at the end of the day here, we'll be better off without him, and we'll have a more versatile offense with the kid we got now, if we can keep him.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I didn't look at the recruiting rankings. They're never as good. In football, it takes a year or two to gel anyway. If they have a great recruiting class, it doesn't mean they're going to be great this year. It's always the next year or two. Got to hold on to the guys. I mean, sure, there's a few freshmen that are going to shine. A lot of them redshirt. They play like 3 or 4 games and they redshirt. They're allowed to play in a bowl game. But, both schools have definitely taken hits. And It's tough, and I don't think Matt Rule or Fickle is the future of any playoffs, in my opinion. So real quick, before we get into the college football, can you tell our listeners and viewers, I should say, how do you bet bowl games? What's your best practices?
Well, as you know, just take tonight, for example. Let's take this ODU and South Florida game. You got a coach that's going somewhere else. You got two quarterbacks that are starters that are sitting out. How do you handicap the game? You got two quarterbacks with no experience at all. And now they're thrust into the biggest game of the year, a bowl game, and you have a coach that's attention elsewhere, in South Florida's case.
Yeah.
So when college football, it used to be prestigious, and you got everybody's A game when it came to a bowl game because everybody worked all year long to get to a bowl game. It was a privilege to play past the regular season. Now, unless you're in one of the 12 playoff teams, it's not. As a matter of fact, it's an inconvenience for these players, and many of them go to the portal, they sit out, or their heart is not in it. Now, I'm not talking about the 12 teams involved in the playoff because they're still – everybody, including Tulane and James Madison, is in the hunt for a national title. They're in the playoffs. The winner of those playoffs wins the national title. So this is maybe when David could beat Goliath. I don't see it happening, neither one of those James Madison or Tulane game, but there's 10 teams there basically that can win the national title. That's where we're at. Other than that, they don't give a rat's ass. So like for tonight, you got to take out all the offensive numbers and you need to throw them out the window. You can't handicap them because you don't know who brings what to the table. So now you start looking for games like this, and you want to look at the total, and I look for unders. Like tonight, 53 points. How? Plus ODU's strength is their defense. They've allowed like 6, 0, 10, and 10 against them in their last 4 games. South Florida, last 2 games allowed 3 and 18. They're not going to have that South Florida offense,
Yeah. It sucks with all the movement.
And so, there you go. You got a backup quarterback that had 200 yards rushing last year. That was one game last year. I can't use that as a professional handicapper as a barometer for what he's going to do tonight because he hasn't touched a freaking ball in a year.
Yeah.
He's thrown like 15 passes total.
Well,
if you're behind, and you have to throw the football playing catch up, 200 yards rushing in a game last year against Tallahassee JUCO, that doesn't mean jack shit to me, and it won't mean it in the game. So, I understand what the guy's saying, but a one-game sample size does not give you a legitimate handicapping point, for some of these guys. And you're going to see that in a lot of these games. In bowls, I look for underdogs. I always have. I like underdogs in bowl games. I think that's something I always look at. And then what you need to also look at, if a team's strength was their offense, and this is going to be, I wish this was on display in a more dramatic fashion. Lane Kiffin was the play caller at Ole Miss. Okay? Fortunately for them, they're playing Tulane again, which they racked up 40-some points on. But that's going to be a barometer. Are they going to be able to have 40 without Lane Kiffin? And I don't care what your thoughts are on Lane Kiffin. And I think he's an asshole. But here's the thing. The guy can call games. The guy is he's a prolific play caller in college football.
Yeah.
Nick Saban doesn't hire somebody to be an offensive coordinator because they're a slacky. This guy can call a game. So what kind of effect does that have on their offense? And you look at teams in bowls that have lost offensive coordinators because they were good, and they've already taken a job with another team, and they're stopgapping that spot in the coaching staff. You want to go through every roster, and it might be a defensive coordinator. San Diego State's in a bowl game, right? Well, their defensive coordinator's at Nebraska right now.
Well, the good thing about Old Dominion, the good thing about Old Dominion is that Ricky Ron, I mean, the coach is still there, you know, so I do give them set. This line moved a lot. It went all the way down to 2.5. I have plus 7.5. I almost bought back at South Florida. I missed the window. I've been busy, but I kind of thought it'd go down a little bit, but it doesn't sound like too many people are opting out. But yeah, it's still about motivation, but it's more about players opting in, opting out, and wondering who's going to do it, because you're going to get a lot of that, my man. Let's get into some playoffs since you mentioned your buddy Lane Kiffin.
But you think about that South Florida game, you as a bettor and a professional handicapper have to know Byron Brown is 90% of their offense, and he's on the sidelines with a headset on. Mm-hmm. It's hard to pull the trigger on him, dude.
It's hard to pull the trigger because they had bigger aspirations than Old Dominion. They thought they were going to go to the playoffs. That's my biggest handicap for this game. Let's go Alabama, Oklahoma, and starting right out. And what's up, Andrew? Thanks for stopping by again. And it's going to be a great game because it's kind of like a Friday night only playoff game. It's kind of weird they didn't put 2 on Friday. I would have put 2 on Friday. But Alabama versus Oklahoma. Oklahoma's kind of like now flipped here. They're kind of the favorites. Very close to pick them here, Tony. Who do you have on this one?
I'm going Alabama. Mm-hmm. I think it's very difficult. A couple of reasons why. It's very difficult to beat a top 10 caliber team twice in 6 weeks. It's extremely difficult to do that. And if you take a look at the games that Alabama played headed into that Oklahoma game, I wrote them down so I wouldn't forget. These are back-to-back-to-back Georgia, Vandy, Missouri on the road, Tennessee, at South Carolina, LSU, and then you step into Oklahoma. I mean, that is a murderer's row of SEC teams that you're going to wear yourself out and get banged up on. And now they've had time not only to reflect on having some rest, having added prep, and what I saw from Oklahoma offensively down the stretch, even with Mateer at quarterback, did not impress me. And they really struggled with a shitty LSU team there in Norman till the end of that game. And the one thing that jumps off the page at me here, Alabama's last 10 games, 9 went under. The only one that went over was the Oklahoma game.
It was a low total. It was a very low total.
Well, this total's dropped from 46.5 in that first game to 40.5 for this one. And in Oklahoma's last 10 games, 8 went to the under. I think it's going to be a defensive battle, but I could only lean. Matter of fact, Alabama -1 is what I saw one pop up at -120. I don't think Oklahoma can beat them twice.
Well, it's -105. Alabama, just pick them on DraftKings, so even better for anybody. Yeah, and I like Oklahoma a little bit, and I mentioned before, I just don't like how Alabama finished the season. I think that I do give Kalen DeBoer a little credit that he has the experience in the playoffs, especially when he was with the Washington Huskies. So there's something to be said about that. But Oklahoma should have a strong home field advantage here, and it's going to be interesting. I'm excited to watch the game. I actually wouldn't have included either of them in the playoffs based upon a most deserving, not necessarily power, but a most deserving perspective. But one of them is going to win and one of them is going to advance. What about Miami A&M? So you had this A&M team that was rolling until they ran into Texas at the very end. And what's funny, people rip on this Miami schedule. Well, if you look at Texas A&M schedule, they happen to avoid all the best teams themselves in the SEC, and finally they play Texas and get bounced. What do you think? They have a good home field advantage at College Station there, but This is past 3, my man, and it's a pretty high total of 48.5.
Well, I'm going to fast forward on your menu list. Beer bet bangers plus money. I would take plus. As a matter of fact, this is one that I bet. It'll be on my premium card at Doc Sports. This is just one I'm going to tell you. Miami on the money line, plus 145. I think that A&M is overrated. I did go down to Columbia, Missouri, which is about 2.5 hours south of Kansas City, and I watched Missouri and A&M play. So,
Well,
I've seen them.
What did you think of him?
I thought their quarterback was unbelievable.
Marcel Reed.
A&M's quarterback's unbelievable. But Missouri was a lackluster team this year. Missouri was a middle-of-the-pack team. That being said, if you take a look at I still think Miami's biggest liability is their head coach. Because I'm going to tell you something. Cristobal, you can't trust him. He's like Rick Barnes at Tennessee in college basketball, although he managed to get a big win last night against Louisville. But that being said, if you take a look at Miami's losses, they lost to SMU and they out-yarded them. And they lost to Louisville, and Beck threw 4 picks in that game, which was the reason they lost. So their 2 losses were just kind of flukish. Man for man across the board, this is one of the most talented teams in the country. And I can't say the same thing for A&M. Now, College Station, that's an issue. That's a real tough place to play. But I think if it's not freezing cold down there, and it looks like in the weather it's not going to be, I think Miami can go in there and beat them.
Miami's better statistically. They say The only reason you see this line past the 3 is an SEC favoritism. I think Miami's the better team, and I agree with your money line play. Tulane versus Ole Miss. Ole Miss minus 17.5, total 56.5. This one bugs me a little bit. It feels like, a lot of people are on Ole Miss. A lot of our handicapper friends are on Ole Miss, but there's just something that's giving me pause on it. It's the whole Lane Kiffin saga. I think Ole Miss still will be motivated, but Tulane saw this team before. I don't know, man. Yeah. I'm probably keeping away from it. I even lean to the under, but there's just too much variance in this game for me to get involved.
Yeah, I like to have Tulane into their season. I know their coach is leaving and this, that, and the other, but I'll tell you one thing. I would lean under in that game as well. I still think Tulane's going to have trouble moving the ball on them. I took Tulane in the regular season in that game on one of my premium cards.
So did I.
On that Saturday, and they just never got off the frickin' bus. But at day's end, with all somebody said if you had to take a big underdog of the James Madison or Tulane, if you had to bet one, I would bet Tulane with some level of confidence. I could not say – I think Oregon can name the score against James Madison, and maybe they will. I don't know.
Well, let's move into that game. Let's move into Oregon versus James Madison. I mean, it was at 21.5. It's now down back to 21. I just cut it in half, Tony, like you always love to say. I cut it in half. I took 10.5. I like it at 11.5 in the first half. I just think it's a situation where Oregon comes out just furious from last year and losing as a 1 seeded to Ohio State, and they remember it, and they're going to make sure that's not going to happen. But at 21, this could be 30-3, and then they just bench everybody for the next game, and a freaking backdoor comes on in. It just could happen.
Yeah, that's the only way that you can bet that. And so when you see a game where there's this much margin in the line, the number one question I ask myself, and I've done this for 30 plus years now, can I see that team up by 2 touchdowns at halftime, yes or no? And if the answer is a clear-cut yes, I'm not afraid to lay 10 or 11 points, as long as it's under 2 scores.
Right.
I did the same thing last week in the NFL, for instance. I'll just give you an example, just recent. I knew that Philadelphia was going to beat the dog shit out of the Raiders. I knew it. But for me, laying double digits in the NFL is absolute taboo. I will not do it because it's the NFL. But I asked myself a question: could they be up by a touchdown at halftime because the line was 6.5 or 7? Absolutely, because Las Vegas brought nothing to the table, so it was an easy top play for me. Just laid 7. They're up 17-0, and then they finish up 33-0 or whatever it ended up being. But you could have laid the 11 or 12.5 or whatever it was. But in this game here, I think Oregon, they come out firing on all cylinders. I really think that the speed, the talent, the size up front. James Madison, great football team. Nice story. I watched them in their championship game, Kiev, and I'm telling you, they weren't that impressive. Who'd they play, Troy?
They played Troy and almost lost.
And
not just that, the Washington State game. Yeah, they're toast. Let's face it, man. I'm just not laying 21. Much better to chop it in half and bet the first half. What about a Thursday game? We have Thursday and Friday games here. We got Arkansas State against Missouri State, -1.5, 54.5. Anything on that game or pass?
Pass.
I like the over. I think both teams throw the ball a ton. Arkansas State 10th in pace. This is one where you're going to see points. Defense is going to be secondary to these two teams that really don't care to stop each other. The tackling is going to be suspect. Take the over, 54.5. Kennesaw State, Western Michigan -3.5, 47.5 total. I'm not going to lie. I had to take Kennesaw State here, and I did because I just have them equally power rated. There's nothing better from the MAC to Conference USA from my perspective. Maybe if you threw Toledo in there in a healthy Ohio with a coach, but I mean, to be honest with you, I would take any dog in like a MAC versus a Conference USA type matchup past the 3.
Yeah, if you 3.5, I'd buy it down to 3. I'd take Western Michigan. I like this team, and I like them for one reason. Lowry at quarterback for them is a massive dual threat. This is a dangerous cat. He can run it, he can throw it, and Barkley at running back averages almost 5 yards a carry. The last 4 games.
Is he playing?
The last 4 games that not Western Michigan,
Kennesaw State, the Owls.
Yeah, the last 4 games they played, including their championship game, they gave up 236 yards average on the ground. And I'm telling you, Western Michigan can run the frickin' football. You ask me what I look for in bowl games? I look for teams that can run the football. Because I'm telling you, that travels well. It's like a good defense in college basketball. If you can't hit shots from the floor, who gives a rat's ass? If you got a defense allowing less than 40% from the floor, that still travels well, no matter whether you're having a cold night from the floor or not. That still keeps you consistent. Same thing in college football. If you can run the football against a team that gives it up, you're in it all the way.
What about a little Memphis versus NC State? NC State -4.5. There's a big total of 57.5 that just recently went up. I think it was like 54.5, and it kind of flew up there, Tony.
Yeah. Problem with me and AC, the last 21 bowl games ACC teams were involved in, they're 3-18 against the spread. That got to concern you a little bit.
Yeah.
That concerns me.
That it should.
Now Memphis, remember was it South Florida that they upset? With South Florida was on their way to the playoff, and they went up to Memphis, and Memphis smoked them.
Yeah, I think it was
that quarterback they got's really good.
Yeah,
Memphis.
I think it was South Florida beat the crap out of North Texas, but they lost to this one, I believe. It was.
Yeah, they lost to Memphis. They were laying like 5.
The ACC,
if I recall.
And Andrew comes in and says the ACC is the worst that it's been, and that's true. It has been the worst.
Yeah.
But this Memphis team thought they were a playoff team for a while, and they lost their coach, Silverfield, and I don't even think he was that good of a coach. But I don't know. This is a situation where I like NC State I like the way NC State finished. Now,
They played well down the stretch.
They sure did down the stretch. You know, they kind of got it together here, and I'm wondering if they're kind of playing for next year because their coach is in place. While it's just weird for Memphis because their interim coach is not going to be the coach for next year. So you don't ever know what's going to happen. It's kind of like either it could be good because the players are trying to get him another job, or it can just be bad because they know he's not going to be there and they're just kind of being lazy. I don't know. It's a tougher handicap in that one. I do like NC State just because
Memphis gives up big chunk plays on defense. That's one thing they do. You can hit them with big plays, and if North Carolina State tries to expose that, they could get out. A lot of these games that we're talking about, Western Michigan, the Memphis NC State game, there's betting opportunities in game. I want to see a lot of these, and the same thing with the Oklahoma-Alabama game. I want to see what's going on and start looking at some halftime props. In a lot of these games. And you're probably going to find more opportunity there than you are on the surface out of the gate.
Also keep in mind that we've seen players play the first half and sit the second half, especially if they have a future. Because you're going to be like, oh, my God, this player's playing. Yes, this is great. He's going to play. Then you bet the full game, and you get completely screwed because
Cam Ward did that last year.
Cam Ward did it last year. You're absolutely right. Thanks for that's exactly who I was just thinking of. So great call.
Yeah.
So let's move on to a little we already did that. Let's go to Washington State, Utah State on Monday. Utah State's -1.5. It was 2.5. It's now Washington State money's coming in a total of 49.5. I'm not going to lie, I didn't bet on this. I've been considering Washington State because they've been so well away from home. But this is just a weird team. And Washington State lost their coach too. He's going
Iowa State.
Yeah, he's going to Iowa State. And
he's a good coach. That's a big hit.
Oh, that was supposed to be the worst team in college. It's supposed to be the worst power team in college football. Or they ended up blowing out Oregon State the second game they played, and I don't know what happened the first game, but they were the much better team. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, but losing that coach is a big hit for them. I like Bronco and Mendenhall up there at Utah State. I think he'll do a good job. I like him.
Yeah,
I like him in that game.
I'm just wondering. I'm just waiting on this one. There's some guys in the transfer portal like Kenny Worthy, their cornerback, linebacker Anthony Polano, their wide receiver Tony Freeman, who has 3 touchdowns for Washington State. So I just want to kind of wait it out a little bit because when Jimmy Rogers left, it's just it's a situation where I don't know how good the backup in the interim is, but I don't know. I think that I still lean Washington State, and I was a Utah State backer pretty much all year. They just have a lot of choke in them, like they did against Boise. Boy, did they screw New Mexico!
You just have to think. You have to think about the mindset, like this game in particular. Again, we're handicapping college bowl games differently than we were 5 or 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Guys like me and you, we are. It's totally different.
Way different. Way different.
So, but one thing that has never escaped me is these still are 19 or 20-year-old kids. And the heart and soul, what turned Washington State around was that head coach's leadership. And when he leaves, that leaves a void. Not only just from the play calling, game management, practice schedule, everything changes. Everything is different. On top of that, you have kids that, we're not, he preached all year long. We're supposed to be we're a dog turd to cantaloupe patch. We shouldn't even be in this game. We're a 20-point underdog. We're this, we're that. Nobody wants us in a conference. We're just the bastard child. And he got them to buy in and believe, and they believed in that coach, and he left them. So now they're doubting. They thought they were building something there, and we're going to stay there and get Washington State back in a conference and in contention. And he's gone, and now you have players even doubting whether they're going to be. Shall I go to the portal? Shall I not go to the portal? To me, there's just a lot of uncertainty with Washington State now with these players especially with the coach gone, that gives Utah State a big edge in that game.
Yeah. I don't know what to think about this. It says Jesse Bovit's going to be the interim coach. I don't know anything about him. It's just a big circle jerk. I don't know. This is an impossible game to handicap in my opinion. Let's go to the next one.
Sure.
Toledo, Louisville -6.5, total 45.5. This is another one where there's all kinds of craziness. There's rumors about Jeff Brom. I heard a rumor he might go to the NFL. I've heard, I don't know. Louisville's got Miller Moss still and Chris Bell, their quarterback and receiver. That's potential opt-outs. Jason Candle clearly took the UConn job, leaving Toledo there. So quarterback coach Robert Weiner is going to serve as the interim for now. I see two unmotivated teams here playing each other, and there's still injuries. This is another probably wait and see. I'll lean the Toledo that it's up to 6.5, but I just can't get to it right now. I don't know if he's going to take all his players. Like remember what's his name did when he left Marshall last year. He went to Southern Miss, took 18 guys. Marshall couldn't even get on the field, and they had to cancel the bowl game last year. It feels like this could happen to this one too.
Yeah, I don't see. I'm not getting there. There's too much uncertainty.
Yeah.
I mean, I know if you're out there and you love college bowls and betting college bowls, try some in-game stuff. Don't spread it around all over the place because you're in a game like this. You're throwing a dart up. You're gonna go. Well, I'm gonna lay it with Louisville. They have ACC talent. Well, first of all, the ACC sucked this year. Second of all, their head coach is in play. His name's being mentioned everywhere. Rumors of him going even to Michigan. I mean, all this crazy stuff. There's a lot of distraction in Toledo. Toledo's a better underdog than they are a favorite. But now their coach is gone. Yeah, he's just waiting to leave to Iowa State too. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's move on to Western Kentucky, Southern Miss. Yeah, I'm picking the beauties for you right now. I mean, unfortunately, this is all we have until Christmas, these games. And I think it's just better to hit Bourbon Street if I'm playing in this bowl game, if I'm a kid from Western Kentucky. And, Southern Miss, I mean, are they going to be motivated? And it's Charlie Huff. I should have said Charlie Huff. This is the one that we were just talking about. I mean, it's funny to look at this one because you got a guy in the transfer portal and Dylan Flowers for Western Kentucky. They don't really have any injuries, but Southern Miss has some potential opt-outs too, because how am I supposed to trust that Charlie Huff doesn't take a bunch of dudes with that we have no idea that's going to happen? It could hit us in the face at any freaking time. I mean, I can't trust this until right before the game. Now, obviously, if you like the Western Kentucky side, which is really high at -5.5, then you probably have to bet that now. But it's a situation where I think the best unit on the field is Western Kentucky's defense, personally, ranking 19th in success rate. So I think best unit on the field, you go with Western Kentucky, but I don't know, another situation that looks like crap.
Well, I don't think there's going to be a huge drop-off. Anderson's a veteran head coach, for Southern, just filling in there. I like Southern Miss in that game.
Yeah, Blake Anderson's going to serve as that interim coach. And
yeah,
I think I lean Southern Miss, but I mean, now that it got to 5.5, I mean, sometimes you have to switch your lean here when that happens. I think my number's like 4 or something like that, But yeah,
I had a checklist here. I'm looking on my other screen here. Because I have checklists for the game, pros and cons for each one based on my database, and I have a Southern Miss with a big advantage on the line of scrimmage, especially on defense in that one, just for what it's worth.
Okay, no, it's worth something. Thanks for letting us know that. And if everybody plays, it's probably a play on Southern Miss. Frisco Bowl, UNLV versus Ohio. Ohio plus 6.5, total 65.5. Man, this keeps going up and up and up in UNLV's direction. I mean, Ohio's coach went on leave, right? Brian Smith leaving John Hauser that taken over.
Right.
I
don't know what happened there. I mean, I'm telling you, I bet UNLV way early when that came out because I like this UNLV team. There's a lot to be said for the job that guy did coming in there and taking over. Because Barry Odom had them going, and he probably should have never left, but he took the big money in Purdue and, getting his ass handed to him every week now.
Well, they're better than they were the year before. I mean, there wasn't.
They are.
And when you do take over a job, you got to take them over when they're complete bottom feeders so you can just go up from there. It's not
and
like.
You can see how good of he was a good coach, and he was a good. Missouri, I was shocked Missouri let him go, but he came in after Pinkel got fired for drinking on the job and all that crap, but all the DUIs. By the way, he just got another one in the Ozarks.
No shit.
Pinkel did another. That's like his fourth one. So, but anyway, that being said, Mullins has done a hell of a job there at UNLV, but now the line's getting a little out of control.
Cal versus Hawaii is the final bowl here, and I
love Hawaii in that game.
It's so funny because you got JKS, who's from Hawaii, as Cal's quarterback, right? So he's gonna have some fans and family there. I'm sure that you're gonna get the overwhelming Hawaii home crowd, though. But in Hawaii's gonna be motivated. They get to play an ACC team. This isn't Hawaii against FIU. They're gonna be excited. I think Hawaii did a great job this year, but I just feel like the quarterback's better on the Cal side. I looked at the over, but then I kind of shied off it because both teams play a medium tempo and both teams are good against the pass, and both these freaking teams pass all day. But just maybe this clock stoppage will get it over anyway. It's probably a solid number, but I can see myself getting to the window at some point here. I think it's funny. You think back on them playing another ACC team, and it was Stanford, the very first game of the season. It's hard to handicap from the first game of the season, with so much variance going on. But it just feels like Stanford should have beat them. Stanford should have beat them, but Stanford also whipped Cal. So I'm gonna lean Hawaii. I think Pick'em is probably a good number here.
Chang does a good job with them. They're at home. That's just a tough place to go in. I don't. California is just 1 week they're a world beater, and the next week they're just a dog turd in the cantaloupe patch.
They're tough to bet this year. They're tough to bet this year. I'm sure I lost some bets on them because of what you just said.
Oh yeah.
It's weird. They showed up. They don't show up. Did they lose to Syracuse? Somebody terrible they lost to.
Yeah.
It was a team like that, and it blew my mind. And it's Justin Wilcox got fired, and that's a big part of the handicap too. And you got Nick Rolovich, who I think the team liked Nick Rolovich, but then they hired the DC Tosh Lupoy from Oregon. So I'm like, are they going to play hard for Nick? It's just.
I thought they give Andrew. There's so much going on. At that school, there's just too much. Hawaii's a lot more consistent, more bankable. I mean, bottom line. I like them there.
All right. Well, hey, any other future bowls that you like or maybe place to bet on?
Oh, I pounded Utah against Nebraska.
Oh, yeah. Look at you just hating on your team. I've been pounding every team against Kansas City in the NFL, but I will say that I might be on this week, believe it or not. I mean, I'm going to shock you.
I can't even trust them this week.
Yeah, I think I have to trust them this
Tennessee
week.
in a teaser.
The books are going to need them. The books are going to need them this week. I'm going to be with the books. That's just a little NFL tell that I have. But let's see what that Nebraska line is up to now. Freaking 16.5.
Yeah, I bet him at 14.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well,
I'd
still bet.
That was before Whittingham even said he was leaving, because we have nothing. I'll tell you one thing about Nebraska. They are soft up front. This quarterback they got gives them a lot because he can move around where Raiola couldn't move around, which is why he ended up with a broken leg. But at the end of the day, this quarterback can move around. But you just lost a running back that's going to go probably in the second round of the NFL draft. That was basically 65% of their offense.
They confused the shit out of me.
And we can't block anybody up front. In Utah, what are they known for? Physical. look at the physical. Michigan, Penn State,
Yeah.
teams that were physical up front just kicked the shit out of Nebraska all year long.
I might have to lay it with Utah even at that number. I'm not excited to do it. Maybe I just chop it in half, but I totally get what you're saying there. This is a goodbye to Whittingham. I'd be shocked if Nebraska puts up past 6 freaking points. I'd even maybe look at it.
I would be shocked if they. I would tell you what. I would be. I would be very surprised if Utah did not win this by 21 to 24 points.
All right.
Very surprised.
Looks like Andrew likes San Diego State this week. I like them too. That's still kind of the one.
Oh, wow.
I'll be talking about.
All right, 34-0. That's bold.
Well, Minnesota's not a good traveling team, that's for sure. But I think San Diego State.
PJ Flex always rowing the boat.
Yeah, he's been sinking the boat on the road. He's sunk it against Cal, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, let's go to beer bet bangers then. Any plus money bet that you like?
I gave it earlier. I like Miami plus the 145. I think that they're going to win that game outright. I think Texas A&M is going to get exposed for playing a weak-ass schedule. Their claim to fame is beating Notre Dame by 1 where they gave up 40. That's their claim to fame.
Yeah.
Give me another one. They beat up on LSU. Who gives a shit? Right. LSU's terrible. I mean, go down the list. Miami, I know they're an ACC team. The reason that Texas A&M is hanging 3.5, they're an SEC team and they're playing at home. But I think Miami is talented, and if the coach can get out of his own way in that game, they can win that by a touchdown. I like a plus 145. I really don't like a lot of other underdogs, here to speak of, but I do think Miami plus 145 carries about as much value as any bowl game out there before Christmas Day.
I like it.
If you want to bet the money line on a dog.
I like it, and I want to try to find one that I like for this week. Because
I tried. You sent me that email this morning. Said, I'm looking at these underdogs going out plus 400, no shot. But I go freaking Miami almost a buck.
Well, we already nailed 14-1 on Mendoza. I gave that. I was a beer bet banger. Mendoza before they played Oregon, 14-1 to win the Heisman. So that was fun. I forgot to
nice.
I forgot to mention that. I'm glad that So it looks like beer bet bangers are kind of paying off if you just kind of find some stuff.
Hey, tell me what you think about my bet I made 4 weeks ago.
Which one?
Matt Stafford to win the MVP.
Matt Stafford to win the MVP. I made that. Oh, that was another beer bet banger. I got at 12-1. So there you go. We're on the right side of these things. Oh, that's a fantastic. He's -4. He's going to win the MVP. Even if he loses to Seattle, he's going to win the
love
MVP.
It. $500 at 8-1, man. I'm looking forward to that one. I'll go out to Vegas to pick up that ticket. You'll have to drive up. We can celebrate there at the Legacy on that one.
Well, let's do it. I'm going to go. I'll go with Southern Miss plus 170. Why not? It's beer bet banger.
I like that game.
Yeah, Southern Miss. I don't know. I expect people to not follow Huff again. That's got to annoy the shit out of some of these kids, and a lot of them seem like they're still playing. So I'll do that.
They got, like I said, they got a big advantage. The offensive line versus their defensive line's a mismatch, and that prevents the other team from scoring a lot of points.
Yes, absolutely. All right, my man. I mean, here we go. Let's get some beer money from these wonderful bets that we made. And I agree with your Miami one. I already bet that one myself. So, Tony,
okay.
you rock. Where could our listeners get your great information for this weekend?
Now, DocSports.com. Just go over there. If you've never been a member of Docs, there's a tab on the upper left-hand corner of the website that says free $60. We'll park it in any new member account. No obligation, no hassle. And it comes with a profit guarantee. I'm off a 5-0 week in the NFL. I got my first batch of bowls up. Just put it towards I think like a week package of football is like $99 or something. So you get it for like $39. You're going to get all my bowl picks between now and next Thursday and this weekend's NFL action. We got a big top play going on. I love the board this weekend in the NFL. It's going to be low volume, but I like a couple of games a whole lot. So DocSports.com is where you find me. And, of course, YouTube, you can find me over there. daily with free plays on Doc Sports YouTube channel. So just type that in.
All right. Make sure you guys check out Tony George at Doc Sports. Tony, you're the man. We'll be talking soon.
Thanks, buddy.
Now it is time for
The Sharp Side of the Force.
Sharp Side of the Force, brought to you by FanDuel Sports, a proud partner of the NFL. All right. So, there's been some movement, not a ton yet coming in on these games, but as of Wednesday, on 12-17, just really three prominent ones. Ole Miss went to 16.5 to 17.5, hosting Tulane, but it's just 58% of the tickets and now 60% of the money. Some buyback on Tulane and Oregon, too. Minus 20.5 to minus 21.5, hosting James Madison, 65% tickets and 69% of the money because there's some sharp money buying back on James Madison. I don't agree with that, but it is what it is. UNLV minus 4.5 to minus 6.5 versus Ohio, 66% tickets and 75% of the money. Sharp totals. Miami versus Texas A&M under 51.5 to 48.5, 27% of the tickets and 35% of the money. UNLV versus Ohio over 62 to 65, 17% of the tickets, 27% of the money. And the books have been moving the lines really with injury information just as much as any market or more than any sharp influence, really. So just wanted to mention that. But here is a recap of our plays. We are going to go with NC State minus 4.5, Kennesaw State plus 3.5, Arkansas State versus Mississippi State, or Missouri State, I should say, over 54.5. I just got to stop abbreviating here. Oregon first half minus 11.5, Miami plus 3.5, and Oklahoma plus 1.5. To recap our plays tomorrow for the NFL, we will be back for more. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you have any questions for us, feel free to tweet us at The Oddsbreakers. Email us at info@theoddsbreakers.com. See you tomorrow with Mike North. Have a great rest of your week and go get some winners.